Hello?
Ernest unknown.
Like, who is this? What? I think you might, have the wrong number or something.
I want you to have my children.
What? I'm like a fucking guy. I can't have any goddamn children.
I want your seed. Give me your seed.
I don't have any seeds. I just, recently ate some sunflower seeds.
No, you fucking idiot. I want your man seed.
What is man seed?
Oh my god, you are a fucking moron.
Pick the mind.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Knowledge Noggins, to episode 12, Ghost Stories Part 2. Get a cup of hot cocoa, coffee, or get some beers, or some Mary Jane, you slut. Relax and enjoy. I will tell a spooky story from each state here in the United States. Then at the end, I will do an impromptu ghost story of my own. I won't even type anything up for that, so it's all completely impromptu, and I guess we'll see how that will turn out. Oh, it's going to be scary as fuck. Just kidding. Hopefully you'll laugh a little bit. So stick around at the end to hear that shit. So let's get into the scary stories of the 50 states. We will begin with the ghost story in Alabama. In February 1858, a steamboat named Eliza Battle set out on a cruise down the Tombigbee River, carrying 60 passengers and more than 1,200 bales of cotton from Columbus, Mississippi, down to Mobile, Alabama. I wonder where that cotton came from, and who gathered it in 1858? Slavery was a terrible time in our lives. Anywho, on March 1st, an unseasonably cold night, the cotton caught fire and quickly engulfed the ship in flames. Oh, Mother of God. It was the greatest nautical disaster in the river's history, leaving 33 passengers and crew dead as motherfuck. On brisk and chilly nights, people sometimes see the burning Eliza Battle rising from the misty waters where it sank, trying to complete its journey to Mobile, Alabama. Ooh, that's scary. This next one took place in Alaska. At the height of the Klondike Gold Rush, a woman named Mary moved into the Golden Northern Hotel in Skagway with her fiancé and prospector known as Klondike Ike. I wonder if it's Mary Jane. Probably not. Doubtful. Before their marriage, Ike set off for the goldfields to make his fortune. But Ike never returned. Mary locked herself in their room and waited. Her anxious anticipation of Ike's arrival turned into dread and despair. The innkeepers eventually broke down the door and found Mary dead in her wedding dress. Guests at the Golden Northern Hotel report that scary Mary still roams the halls, appearing over their beds in the night to check that Ike isn't sleeping with anyone else. Ooh, how do they know that's what she's looking for? Well, this one took place in Arizona. The hot-ass state of Arizona where your nutsack will get so hot that your entire nutsack will turn into one big sweat drop and fall off your body, splashing on the ground, leaving you without a sack. That's how fucking hot it gets there. The Hotel Monte Vista in Flagstaff, Arizona, opened along Route 66 in 1927, often lodged the casts of Western films shot in nearby Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon. Sedona, Arizona is a beautiful town, and I believe that is where Maynard James Keenan's Pussifer shop is located, if you remember from my Maynard James Keenan episode. Reportedly, it houses a host of ghostly guests. In fact, John Wayne reported one of the hotel's first ghost sightings in the late 1950s. Ever since, guests and staff have reported dozens of spirits stalking the halls, including a phantom bellboy who knocks on doors and disappears. The eccentric specter of a boarder who liked to hang raw meat from the chandelier, and a 70s bank robber who succumbed to his gunshot wound over a celebratory post-heist drink at the hotel bar. Anyone down for a road trip to Arizona? We can check out his Monte Vista Hotel in Flagstaff, then stroll to Sedona and stop by Maynard's Pussifer shop. Sounds like a good time to me, Knowledge Noggins. Let's hop on over to the story in Arkansas. In Arkansas, during the Civil War, Union General Frederick Steele commandeered the home of a mailman named John Chidester to use as his headquarters during the Battle of Poison Spring. Chidester had been accused of espionage for turning over Union mail to Confederate troops. To this day, bullet holes remain in an upstairs wall of Chidester's house, where Union soldiers fired at random, hoping to hit the alleged spy as he hid in a small closet. Paranormal investigators say his spirit remains, turning up in photographs and shouting, "Get out!" to unwanted visitors. The home, which stands as a museum today, is open for tours so you can see it for yourself. This next story is in California. California. Alcatraz was the site of reputed hauntings long before hosting the famous prison which Native American spirits reportedly roamed it then and now, but today one of the most famous stories of a prisoner from Cell 14D. The story goes that the prisoner spent the night in solitary confinement, screaming that a creature with glowing eyes was trying to kill him and pleading for help. The guards ignored him, but the next morning they found the prisoner strangled to death with strange wounds doctors said could not have been self-inflicted. Oh, jeez Louise. This one is from Colorado. The Buffalo Rose Saloon in Golden, Colorado doesn't have much choice but to admit one underage patron. It's believed the ghost of a girl who drowned in a swimming pool located in the saloon's basement back in the 1920s still roams the building, skipping up and down stairs and making employees slightly nervous. The former site of the pool is said to be particularly unsettling, with the bar's overnight custodian Seth Berry describing it as very bad. Sometimes you can't go down there. Now let's make our way over to Connecticut. In 1970, famed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called to combat the spirit of Annabelle, a demonic presence attached to a giant Raggedy Ann doll. For weeks, the doll had thoroughly freaked out its owner, Donna, moving from room to room, leaving handwritten notes, and even attacking a friend who suggested Donna get rid of the doll, choking him in his sleep. Yeah, I'd probably get rid of that doll too. Finally, a priest exorcised the doll, and Warrens locked it away in a special case designed to check its malevolent influence. But even that wasn't enough to save one brash visitor to the Warrens Museum, who reportedly taunted the doll and died in a motorcycle crash on his way home. Don't taunt ghosts, Knowledge Noggins. Our next destination is Delaware. Since 1965, Woodbury has served as the official residence of Delaware's governor, but more than a century before that, it became known as home to more than one apparition. Around 1815, the home's owners were entertaining Lorenzo Dow, a well-known Methodist clergyman. When the group sat down to breakfast one morning, Dow asked if their guest would be joining them, but there was no other guests. When Dow described the man he had been seeing the evening before, it became clear that it was Charles Hilliard III, and he was the late father of the home's owner. Rumor has it that if you leave out a glass of good wine at night, it might be gone in the morning. Hilliard was a bona fide wine drinker. Sounds like the kind of ghost we can motherfuck hang out with. Let's take a little trip on over to Florida. The Don Cesar Hotel in St. Pete Beach, Florida was built by Thomas Rowe and named for a character in the opera Maritana. Rowe had attended the opera during his time as a student in London, and he fell head over heels for its star, a Spanish aristocrat named Lucinda. Oh, hi, Lucinda. Oh, my God. They regularly met at a fountain in the city and made plans to sell America and be married. But Lucinda's parents didn't approve of their romance and took her back to Spain. He wrote her faithfully, but his letters were returned unopened. Only one letter of Lucinda's ever reached Rowe. "Time is infinite," she wrote. "I wait for you by our fountain, to share our timeless love. Our destiny is time. According to legend has it, Lucinda died of a broken heart. Rowe, who said he would never love anyone else, would go on to build his hotel. It was completed in 1928 and features an exact replica of the fountain where the lovebirds spent happier times in the past. Rowe's ghost has been spotted on the beach, on the hotel's 5th floor, and in the lobby, and in the garden, where he is sometimes seen holding the hand of a woman believed to be Lucinda. Oh, how lovely. Now let's make our way over to Georgia. When the Army Corps of Engineers flooded the foothills of northern Georgia mountains to create Lake Lanier in the 1950s, 59 square miles of farmland, homes, and businesses disappeared beneath the water. In the process, the federal government relocated more than 250 families along with 20 cemeteries and all of their corpses. A nasty streak of freak accidents and mysterious drownings deaths have convinced locals that the lake has been cursed ever since. Some people who have survived near drownings at the lake have reported feeling hands dragging them beneath the surface. Ooh, that's creepy. I've always felt that way when I'm in a lake or like any deep water. The mystery of the depths below me always creeped me out. So yeah, I don't swim much. Let's go to Hawaii. According to legend, the fire goddess Pele or whatever the fuck, P-E-L-E, and hog-faced demigod named Kamapua'a. I don't know how to say Hawaiian words, so I'm sorry about that, motherfuck. Kamapua'a had a star-crossed love affair. The lovers were elemental opposites. Pele's I'll just say Pele's. Pele's lava flows brought flame and destruction, while Kamapua'a restored rain, vegetation, and animal life. Ultimately, they decided to part forever, with Pele claiming one side of Oahu for fire and Kamapua'a retreating to the other side, where all is wet and lush. Today, Hawaiian motorists are careful never to drive with pork in their car along the old Pali Highway, which crosses Oahu. According to legend, carrying pork representing hog-faced Kamapua'a over to Peel's side of the island will enrage her spirit, and she will get her revenge by making the car stall until the driver throws the pork out the window. Wow, my god. That's interesting. With all that crazy stuff going down in Hawaii right now, like the volcanic eruptions and volcanic fissures, maybe someone took a little pork too far. So now let's zip on over to Idaho. Oh, Idaho. When it comes to abandoned buildings, penitentiaries might rank only slightly behind psychiatric hospitals in creep factor, and the old Idaho Penitentiary, with its built-in gallows and death row, may be one of the country's creepiest. Between 1872 and 1973, the Boise prison served as a temporary home to more than 13,000 prisoners, including Raymond Allen Snowden, also known as Idaho's Jack the Ripper. Some believe he still haunts what is known as Five House, where the prisoners' gallows were located. On October 18, 1957, Snowden was brought here to be executed, but the noose that should have broke his neck didn't. It took 15 minutes for him to suffocate. In the years since, visitors to the old pen have reported strange happenings in Five House and other areas of the former prison, such as hearing odd sounds, voices, and being overcome by strong feelings of sadness. The prison is open to the public year-round for paranormal enthusiasts who want to test their mettle. Well, I don't know if I'll be doing that shit, motherfucks. Our next destination is Illinois. Or some people might say, Illinois. In the depths of the Great Depression, the O. Henry Ballroom southwest of Chicago drew young people hoping to dance away their troubles. One night, a teenage girl named Mary... another Mary. That seems to be synonymous to many women. Like Mary Jane. Mary. You slut. And I'm talking about Mary Jane, not the other Marys. I don't want to be rude to the other Marys. I like Mary Jane, though. Anyway, Mary had a fight with her boyfriend at a dance and decided to walk along Archer Avenue. She was killed by a hit-and-run driver and buried nearby in a Resurrection Cemetery. Since then, residents have described a girl in a white party dress hitchhiking along the avenue. A cab driver even picked her up, and she asked to be taken to the cemetery. But by the time they arrived at the gates, Resurrection Mary had vanished. Well, that is a convenient name for a cemetery now, isn't it? Resurrection. Hop in the car. We're on our way to Indiana. The tiny township of Tunnelton was named for the number of railroad tunnels constructed around it, beginning in the 1850s. One of them, Tunnelton Tunnel, also known as the Big Tunnel, is one of the Hoosier state's most feared landmarks. Reportedly, there are few ghosts who refuse to leave the area, including a man who was beheaded in an accident during the tunnel's construction and still roams the grounds with his head in one hand and a lantern in the other. But the most famous of this tunnel's tenants is Henry Dixon. In 1908, the body of Dixon, who worked as a night watchman for the railroad, was found inside the tunnel with a gash to the back of his head, his lantern still lit beside him. Dixon's murder was never solved, and locals claim that he still haunts the area seeking justice for his death. Next stop, Iowa. I owe a whore $20 in Iowa. Coe College in Cedar Rapids is said to be haunted by the ghost of a freshman named Helen Esther Roberts, who died after becoming ill in the 1918 flu pandemic. As legend has it, the ghost of Roberts sets up residence in an old grandfather clock in Voorhees Hall, her former place of residence, which her parents donated to the school in her memory. While the clock was being installed, students claimed they saw an apparition hovering above their beds at night, pulling the covers off and even playing the piano in the lobby before taking a quick trek to her old room. Some even claimed the clock would act up or stop working altogether at 2:53, the time of Robert's death. When the clock was removed in the 70s, the sightings promptly ended at Voorhees Hall, but then they re-manifested in Stewart Hall, the grandfather's clock's new home. And now Kansas. Kansas fit in your ass? Kansas. People in Hutchinson, Kansas, know not to venture into the surrounding sandhills alone because that's where the Hamburger Man lives. Barbecue. Some say the monster, horribly mutilated by a fire or crash sometime in the 1950s, abducts victims by brandishing a long knife or meat hook, and then carries them back to his lair where he grinds them up for dinner. Yummy. The locals aren't sure whether the half-human, half-ghost was ever a real person or why he seems to crave so many hamburgers. Cheeseburger. Every barbecue. Let's leap on the fuck over to motherfuck Kentucky. You can tuck me in, baby. In 1891, just a year after thousands of spectators converged on Pikeville to see the last hanging in the trial of the Hatfields and the McCoys, a newlywed named Octavia Hatcher died. Octavia had fallen into a depression shortly after her only child had died in infancy, and then slipped into a fatal coma. Since it was a hot spring, her husband wasted no time in burying her. But soon doctors began to notice a strange but not lethal sleeping sickness spreading throughout the town. Panicked, her husband exhumed her casket and found its inner lining shredded with claw marks and his wife's face frozen in a mask of terror. Racked with guilt, he reburied Octavia and had a tall stone statue of her placed above her grave. Locals say that they can still hear Octavia crying, and that once a year on the anniversary of her death, the statue rotates and turns its back on Pikeville. Well, I guess. And now, Louisiana. Louisiana, that one slut punched me in the chode. Louisiana's Cajun communities have an explanation for sleep paralysis. Cauchemar. Not sure how to say that. A species of a nighttime witch that immobilizes sleepers and rides them like horses. Really? Ride us like horses? Well then, what the motherfuck? Some say the Cauchemar comes to those who forget to say their prayers before going to bed. Say your prayers, Knowledge Noggins. Its unfortunate victims lay awake, unable to move, as the Kachamar presses down on their chests, and no matter how much they try to call out, their screams catch in their throats. Some have even reported waking up with marks on their bodies from the bridles and whips that the Kachamar uses to mount and ride the sleepers. Beware. Talking about them increases the likelihood it will visit you tonight. Well, Knowledge Noggins, I will let you know if one does. And I think I'm good. No worries, babes. I love you, babe. And last night when I was working on this podcast, they didn't come see me, so I think I'm okay. And now let's head over to Maine. Yo, what's up, Maine? In the mid-19th century, a lighthouse keeper and his wife moved into the lighthouse on San Sequin Island, a 64-acre speck of land 2 miles out to sea. To stave off their loneliness and boredom, the man ordered a piano and some sheet music from the mainland so that his wife could learn to play. Dutifully, she learned her first song and then she played it again and again and again and again, the same song every day. Eventually, it drove the lighthouse keeper mad. He took an axe first to the piano, then to his wife, and finally took his own life when he realized what he had done. Man, that must have been a fucking annoying song. Visitors to the island say that sometimes hear phantom piano music and occasionally catch a glimpse of the lighthouse keeper walking by still carrying his axe. Let's swim on over to motherfuck Maryland. Mary's Maryland. Mary Jane. You slut. With thick cypress swamps fringing a black river, the Pocomoke Forest on Maryland's eastern shore has birthed several ghostly legends. Folks say that a teenage couple drove into the forest but ran out of gas. The boyfriend went to get help, and the girlfriend was woken in the middle of the night by scratchy sounds on the car's roof. In the morning, she discovered her boyfriend hanging upside down from a tree and his fingernails trailing on the metal. In another tale, a couple in a car heard a radio report of an escaped murderer with a hook for a right hand. Oh no. The girl noticed a strange sound outside the car, and when she opened the door, a hook was hanging from the handle. Locals also talk of fireballs erupting from thickets and a 6-fingered sea captain who killed his adulterous wife and bastard child. The baby's wails still echo through the trees. Oh my, really? This one is from Massachusetts. I know a man, he doesn't like to choose things, so he leaves it to the masses. It's the Massachusetts. Ha ha ha. Okay. Minot's Ledge, a tiny outcropping of rock rising from the sea a mile off the coast of Choset, I don't know fucking how to say these damn words, was a ruthless destroyer of ships and sailors. Between 1695 and 1754, the ledge sank 80 ships and drowned 400 men. But no one knew how to build a lighthouse on such a perilous silver rock in the middle of the sea. Finally, in 1850, Massachusetts erected a small granite beacon tower on 9 cement pylons grounded on the ledge. 1 year later, a furious northeastern storm hit and set the tower swaying. During a lull in the storm, the lighthouse keeper rowed to the mainland, leaving his 2 assistants behind to man the beacon. All night, townspeople on the shore heard a lighthouse bell ring furiously, perhaps as a final goodbye from the assistants. In the morning, the tower was gone, toppled into the sea. The assistants' bodies washed up days later. Passing fishermen say they can still hear their ghostly cries for help. Help me. This next one will be in Michigan. I'm gonna take my mission in Michigan again. Be careful where you roam at night in the western Michigan. The melonheads might come after you. Said to haunt the woods near Saugatuck. Another weird-ass word. Saugatuck. These childlike figures have oversized heads and huge nutsacks. Just kidding. I'm sorry about the nutsack talk. I say that too much. So they have oversized heads and mostly white eyes with irises barely visible above their lower eyelid. They might knock on your car window, or they might stalk you as you walk your dog. Some speculate that the Melonheads were children in the 19th century with hydrocephaly who escaped a local hospital where a doctor had been conducting terrible experiments on them. Be especially wary if you're a young couple making out in a parked car. The Melonheads like to tap on the windows to get your attention. Let's ride our bikes on over to Minnesota. I got a mint and a soda. Would you like a mint soda? Ghost hunters have come from all over the country to visit the Palmer House Hotel in South Center in the hopes of glimpsing a permanent guest, Lucy, a ghost who hasn't forgiven the male gender for her tragic life and even more tragic demise. As the story goes, Lucy was a prostitute who worked in a brothel erected on the future site of the hotel. Probably not the only thing she was erecting. Catch my drift, knowledge noggins? It burned down, taking Lucy and other escorts with it. When men passed by, she's said to slam doors and drop the temperature. Guests can ask for room 17, Lucy's favorite if they're feeling adventurous. Yeah. I'll not take that room. I'm good. Oh my hell. Oh, hello, Mississippi. I saw a Mrs. sipping on a drink in Mississippi. At the center of the historic section of Glenwood Cemetery, Yahoo City Public Burial Grounds, there's a grave surrounded by a chain-link fence. Local lore claims that the grave belonged to a witch who lived along the Yahoo River, who used to lure fishermen to the shore to torture them. When the Yahoo County Sheriff came to arrest her, she fled into the swamp and fell into quicksand. The sheriff found her half sunk. Before she drowned, she swore to take revenge on Yahoo City. No one thought much of her threat, but they fenced her grave in just in case. Then, on May 25, 1904, a fire nearly wiped out the entire city, spreading quickly on unusually fierce winds. After the fire, Yahoo City residents found the chain link around the witch's grave cut open. Now, let's head over to the state of Missouri. I found myself in Missouri. An old couple in Overton, who made a trickle of income lodging travelers in their home, decided one night to murder a wealthy boarder and make their fortune. They hid his body, took his money, and used it to build a grand new house. Years later, as the woman lay on her deathbed, she made her husband... excuse me. She made her husband promise to keep their secret and never to remarry. But he took a new bride within a year. The people of Overton, disapproving of the widower's inappropriateness, harassed the couple on their wedding night with catcalls, drums, and rifle shots. But when the man went outside to hush the crowd, he was startled to see a black carriage pull up to the house. Inside sat a woman, pale as death and dressed in black. Without a word, the man got into the carriage. It drove off, and he was never seen again. Ever since, townspeople have spotted the black carriage and interpreted it as an omen of danger. Hey, what's up, Jamaican guy? Do a lot of people tan in Jamaica? Yeah, man. This one Montana a lot. I don't know. We're headed over to Montana, is what I'm trying to say. Taking a drive along Highway 87 by Black Horse Lake in Montana? If the legends are true, you'll want to think twice before agreeing to pick up just any hitchhiker. Locals claim that a man known as the Phantom Hitchhiker of Black Horse Lake, a Native American man wearing a jean jacket, appears on the road, then violently smashes against your windshield as if struck by your car. What a jerk! It is said that the man was involved in the fatal car crash many years ago, and he reenacts it ever since. So yeah, don't go down Highway 87, knowledge noggins, unless you want to meet the Native American in a jean jacket. And now, Nebraska. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, Nebraska, him. I don't know how to rhyme, what to rhyme with Nebraska, so whatever. Blackbird Hill, Nebraska, is best known as the gravesite of the eponymous Omaha Indian chief named Blackbird, who was famously buried sitting upright on his most prized horse. But the hill is also home of one of Nebraska's oldest ghost stories. In the late 1800s, a local man discovered that his wife still had feelings for a long-lost lover. Consumed in a fit of jealous rage, he stabbed his wife and then, in a panic, picked up her body, ran to the cliff on Blackbird Hill, and jumped. It's said that if you listen closely on October 17th, you can hear a woman screaming near the top of the hill. Oh, nee. Onward to Nevada. Long before the founding of Las Vegas, a pair of lovers named Timber Kate and Bella Rawhide, quite the last name you got there, toured the saloons of Nevada performing a live sex show. Oh yeah, fuck me. Oh yeah. One day, Bella abandoned the act and left Kate for a man named Tug Daniels, who tugged on her tits. Nah, I'm just kidding, he didn't do that. But she was left for a man named Tug Daniels, breaking her former partner's heart by leaving her with Tug. Kate eventually ran into Bella and Tug in a Carson City brothel, resulting in a knife fight. During the melee, Tug murdered Kate, and it's been said that her disheveled ghost still haunts the halls of Bordello. To New Hampshire! In New Hampshire, before the Portsmouth Music Hall was built on Chestnut Street in 1878, the site was home to the Temple, a public meeting house where black abolitionists like Frederick Douglass spoke against slavery, a Baptist meeting hall, an 18th century prison, and one of the first almshouses in the colonies. With all that history, its ghosts could be a mixed bag. But they seem to be all about the stage. Audience members have reported seeing a man dressed in clothing so convincingly Victorian they thought he was an actor, until he faded away. They've heard shuffling feet near the box office, and loud footsteps in the empty hallway. Some have witnessed a shadowy mist blocking their view of the stage, dark shadows passing in front of their seats, or the stage curtains rippling as if someone were walking behind them, but no one was there. Sounds like at least one phantom is still yearning for some time in the spotlight. Get ready, we're headed on over to New Jersey. Manuel Rionda, a sugar baron living in the new wealthy New Jersey enclave of Alpine, wanted to do something nice for his wife Harriet. In 1910, he built a tall Gothic stone tower to give her a view of the New York City skyline. But the gesture lost its charm when sitting atop the tower one day, Harriet spotted Manuel with another woman. With years of fears and suspicions confirmed, Harriet grew despondent and leapt from the tower. Afterward, every time Manuel walked up its stairs, he heard footsteps and sobs or felt the push of a cold, angry hand. Overcome with guilt and fear, Manuel walled up the tower, vowing that no one should ever climb it again. After his death in the 1950s, construction crews came to tear down the tower. But after several men fell to their motherfucked deaths, they left the building as it was. Onward to New Mexico. In the Wild West days, Johnny, a lieutenant posted at Fort Union, fell in love with a flirtatious woman named Celia. One night, as the two danced at an officer's birthday party, a messenger burst in to announce an Apache raid. Fearing he might not get another chance, Johnny immediately proposed to Celia, who said yes and promised that if he didn't return, she would never marry. Some soldiers died in the fight, including Johnny. Despite her promise, Celia soon married another man. At their wedding ball, a ghoul in uniform appeared, a gash on his head and fire in his eyes. He pulled Celia from the arms of her new husband as the musicians, entranced, played an eerie waltz. Johnny's spirit danced Celia around the room. She grew pale and died in his arms. Faithful in death, Celia's ghost can still be heard weeping over Johnny's grave. Oh, fuck. Now let's fly the fuck over to New York. The first recorded murder trial in American history dates to 1800, when New Yorkers discovered the body of Guillaume. That's a really weird name, Knowledge Noggins. Guillaume Sands in the Manhattan well in Soho. Rumors quickly spread that Sands had been murdered by Levi Weeks, an alleged lover who lived in the same Greenwich Street boarding house as Sands did. Levi was the brother of Ezra Weeks, a prominent New York City architect who designed landmark buildings like the Hamilton Grange. With his brother's help, Levi hired an all-star defense team that included Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and beat the charges. Ever since people have reported strange shrieks and flashes of light emanating from the well where the body was found, which remains untouched in the basement of a clothing store at 129 Spring Street. Now, let's head over to North Carolina. The infamous pirate Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach, is said to haunt a cave on Ocracoke Island in the Outer Banks, where he was executed by members of the British Navy in 1718. Blackbeard's head was severed and hung from the bowsprit on Elf the British sloops, and his body tossed overboard. The body swam around the ship several times before succumbing to its watery grave. Some tales say that a headless figure has been spotted splashing around in the small sheltered bay which is known as Teach's Hole. Others say Blackbeard has been seen roaming the beaches with a lantern looking for his lost motherfuck head. Alright, Knowledge Noggins, let's trek on over to North Dakota. Once a thriving pioneer outpost, today's Sims is a ghost town in more ways than one. Its only permanent resident is a spirit, known as the Grey Lady of Sims. She's said to be the wife of a minister of the Evangelical Lutheran Church, one of only a few buildings that remain in the town. According to legend, she fell ill and died in the church parsonage sometime between 1916 and 1918, after which her husband married her sister and left the region. By the mid-1930s, the Grey Lady had begun haunting the parsonage's second floor, pulling back the curtains, opening and closing windows, and pumping its well with her invisible hand. Her antics so spooked the congregants that they wrote a letter to a local bishop to complain about the supernatural activity which they said kept scaring off new ministers. The spectral figure is said to still haunt the church, which is home to an active congregation. Kinda reminds me of Lady Grey from the video game Fable. If any of you play video games and have played Fable, you'll know what the fuck I'm talking about. Now let's head over to Ohio. Ohio, dear friend. The darkest, most desolate stretch of the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad ran through Moonville, Ohio. According to a local legend, an epidemic once spread through the tiny community and trains were forbidden from stopping there. Running low on supplies, residents sent a volunteer with a lantern to flag down a cargo train on the edge of town. The idea was that the train's conductor would start to slow down after seeing the man outside town and come to a stop by the time he cleared the passage. But the plan never had a chance to come into fruition. The volunteer was late getting to the tunnel, and the oncoming train struck and killed him before he could reach the other side. Today, the Moonville Tunnel is one of the few remaining landmarks from the defunct mining town, and some visitors still claim to see a ghostly figure carrying a lantern into the darkness. Others are convinced they've encountered one of the many other souls who are said to have lost their lives at the location. Man, a lot of ghost stories involve lanterns, you know. Lots and lots of lanterns. So let's slide on over to Oklahoma. Decades ago, when the owner of what's now the Skirvin Hilton Hotel in Oklahoma City discovered that he had impregnated a housekeeper, he responded by locking the maid in one of the rooms. She said to have stayed there even after she had the baby. However, the despairing housekeeper had other plans and threw herself and the baby out the window. Nowadays, her spirit tends to get a lot of press for terrorizing NBA players. Opponents of the Oklahoma City Thunder typically stay at the century-old hotel, and athletes have reported hearing babies crying in their rooms and knocks at their doors. They've also seen drawers open and doors closed without reason. The New York Knicks once blamed a loss on a restless night because of the pranks played by the spirits. She is an operational sixth man of sports. That's what the New York Times reported. Shit, if I was in the NBA, I would choose to stay elsewhere. How about you, Knowledge Noggins? Would you stay in a haunted house or hotel or whatever? Fuck that shit, bruh. It is now time to head over to Oregon. The Coon Cinema in Lebanon, Oregon is a relic of movie houses without the trappings of a generic multiplex, but preserving that kind of legacy isn't without some risk. Legend has it that a theater-goer once plummeted from a second-floor balcony to her death. Now, her image can allegedly be seen flickering on the screen, shocking patrons into spilling their sodas. No. Now let's hop a skip and a jump over to Pennsylvania. If you keep punching me, I'm going to Pennsylvania. What does that mean? It means I'm going to stab my pencil into your veins. That was dumb. Oh my fucking hell. There's no shortage of haunted spots related to the Battle of Gettysburg, but the Devil's Den may be the most infamous. Local lore has it that the rock formation was viewed as a cursed place long before the Civil War. When Confederate and Union troops clashed at the site in July 1863, the craggy boulders gave them a convenient place to hide. Battalions were separated, and men on both sides were ambushed. Some of the bloodiest, most confused fighting to the battle took place at Devil's Den, earning it the nickname the Slaughter Pen from soldiers. A few days after the battle ended, Union soldiers returned to the area and found it still littered with the bodies and viscera of the fallen. Some of the Confederate soldiers were allegedly tossed into crevices between the boulders and left to rot. It's said that the spirits haunting the area sometimes appear in photographs, that is, when photography equipment works there at all. And now, Rhode Island. In the late 19th century, the people of Exeter responded to an outbreak of consumption tuberculosis with infamous vampire panic that ended in the exhumation, mutilation, and cannibalization of the corpse of Mercy Lena Brown. Science knew little of tuberculosis, and superstitions quickly spread that the wasting away was due to the nefarious influence of undead family members. Mercy died at age 19 in January 1892, shortly after her mother and sister. Since her corpse was the best preserved of the three, she was singled out as a vampire and blamed for the illness of her brother Edwin, who had also contracted tuberculosis. Villagers cut out Mercy's heart, burned it, mixed the ashes with water, and made Edwin drink the concoction. Edwin died 2 months later. Mercy's spirit still lingers forlornly about her disturbed grave. South Carolina. According to some historians, America's first convicted female serial killer was a Charleston woman named Lavinia Fisher, who ran an inn called the 6 Mile House with her husband John. Most of Lavinia's victims were wealthy men traveling alone. She would offer her unfortunate guest a cup of poisoned tea, then direct them to a room with a specially designed trapdoor bed. When the ill man lay down, John pulled a lever and the guest fell into a pit below the house. What the fuck? There, John would make sure the man was dead and relieve him of his valuables, stealing his shit, just go in there and rob him. The story goes that the couple was caught when a traveler who hated tea but was too polite to decline Lavinia's offer. She poured him a cup of tea nearby, and then he took it outside and dumped it into a plant and retreated back to his room. As he sat at his desk that night, he was shocked to see his bed just plunge into a pit. He ran out of the inn and told police, who soon found the bodies of missing travelers buried nearby. What the fuck, man? People are crazy. The couple were hanged, and legend has it that Lavinia's ghost still haunts her cell at the Charleston Old Jail. Yeah, people were fucked up in the brain in the dome, knowledge nogs. Fucked up in the dome. Alright, let's head over to South Dakota. We're getting down the list of all 50 states. The Fairmont Hotel, formerly a brothel and saloon, now an oyster bar, is widely considered the most haunted landmark in South Dakota. The place has seen its share of jealousy and heartbreak. There's a ghost of a man who shot the client of his prostitute girlfriend and then accidentally shot himself. There's a spirit of an angry fellow whose girlfriend died of syphilis. Oh, syphilis. Sounds like a sexual transmitted disease. I think it is, isn't it? Like gonorrhea. And there's a ghost of a prostitute named Maggie who jumped out a window to her death. On more than one occasion, visitors have reported seeing an apparition with red hair and green dress, perhaps Maggie herself, lurking in the hallways upstairs. Ooh, Maggie. I went to school with a Maggie, and one of the kids I went to school with smashed a salad into her face, and she had like broccoli hanging from her eyelashes and ranch all over her lips. It was kind of funny at the time. And now we're gonna go to Tennessee. I want to play tennis in Tennessee. Tennis in Tennessee. The Chickamauga battlefield, which in 1863 saw a key Union defeat and one of the bloodiest battles in the Civil War, is now home to a haunting monster known as an old green-eyed monster thing. One legend maintains that the creature was a Confederate soldier whose head was blown off during the battle. His spectral head floats around the battlefield searching for his missing body. Another, apparently older tale, claims that Old Green Eyes is a humanoid monster with glowing green eyes, light-colored waist-length hair, and huge deformed jaws, sporting massive fangs and huge titties. No, he doesn't have titties. It's a guy. No titties on a guy, unless it's a really, really big, fat fucking guy. Sorry. Yeehaw, cowboys, head on over to Texas. Texas. In the frontier days, a settler family eked out a living on the banks of Elm Creek near San Antonio. One day, the son of a wealthy merchant in town passed through their property and was bitten by the family mule. Enraged, the man began beating the animal and wouldn't stop. The family depended on the mule for their living and in desperation pelted the man with stones until he left. But before he did, he vowed revenge. That night, he rounded up a posse and set fire to the family home. The men came armed and waited to gun down the family members as they fled the fire. When the mother ran out, she was deformed nearly beyond recognition. Her fingers had fused almost into hooves, and the flesh on her face was sagging terribly. With a screech, she hurled herself into the creek, where her ghastly spirit remains. Locals say they still hear shrieks coming from the creek and nearby woods, and some have reported a terrifying creature with hooves dropping onto their cars and scratching at their windows, trying to get the fuck inside, motherfucks. Ew, a sagging-faced, hoofed lady? That sounds disgusting. Ew. Let's head over to Utah, where the missionaries are. One of the first gravediggers in Salt Lake City, Utah, Jean Baptiste, was otherwise unremarkable. He lived with his wife and in a two-bedroom home, had few friends, and was punctual. He was perhaps unusually well off for a gravedigger, and authorities learned the reason why in 1862. In just 3 years, Baptiste had robbed graves of more than 300 people, stripping them of clothing and possessions, and dumping their naked bodies back into the caskets with their penises bouncing around off of his caskets. Penis bouncing. Oh, I fucked that sentence up, didn't I? The police found his home filled with clothing. He sold many of his possessions that he stole from the graves. Baptiste showed up in court wearing a suit a local storekeeper had been buried in. Banished to a remote island in the Great Salt Lake, Baptiste vanished 6 weeks later. Many say his ghost still roams the southern coast of the lake carrying an armful of wet, rotting clothing. I've been there before, but I haven't seen that man. If he was walking around carrying rotting clothing, I'd be like, yo, give that to me. Give that to me right now. Now we're going to head on over to Vermont. I've never been to Vermont. Anywho, if you ever stay at the Green Mountain Inn in Stowe, Vermont during a snowstorm, listen carefully for the sounds of boots tapping on the rooftop. You may hear Boots Barry, that's his name. The ghost that's said to have haunted the inn since his tap dancing days at the turn of the 20th century. Boots was born to the inn's horseman and chambermaid in the building's servants' quarters in 1840. As an adult, he followed in his father's footsteps and became a successful horseman. He even achieved hero status after gaining control of some runaway horses pulling a stagecoach. But his glory days were short-lived. Boots developed a drinking problem that got him fired from the inn and landed him in jail. It was one of his fellow inmates at a prison in New Orleans that taught him how to tap dance. Years later, Boots' quick feet came in handy. He was back at the Green Mountain Inn in 1902 when he learned that a girl was stuck on the buildings of a roof during a snowstorm. Recalling the secret route he took to the roof during his childhood, he arrived there in time to return her to safety. Unfortunately, Boots himself wasn't so lucky, and he slipped and fell to his death. So is he a ghost? I'm not sure. That was kind of a weird ending. And now, Virginia. The Wythe House, a colonial-era Georgian townhouse, draws its name from George, with the country's first law professor and one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Wythe was an eminently respectable judge, but his great-nephew George Wythe Sweeney was his opposite. A profligate gambler with a mounting debt problem. By 1806, the elder Wythe was widowed, and Sweeney was one of his last remaining inheritors. Eager to hasten his inheritance, Sweeney offered to move into his great-uncle's house to look after the old man. At the first opportunity, he slipped arsenic into Wythe's coffee. The judge fell violently ill and died 2 weeks later, but not before he grew suspicious and wrote Sweeney out of his will. Legend has it that Wythe's spirit has never left the house. That's fucked up. Why do people kill their family members to inherit money? You're fucked in the goddamn dome. Your dome is fucked up for doing that shit. Let's head right on over to Washington. Perhaps it's no surprise that Kell's Pub on the former site of Seattle's first full-service mortuary would become home to several spooky tales. One of the most famous surrounds a mischievous girl with long red hair who was apparently looking for pals, looking for friends. One day, a young mother came in for a job interview at the bar with her small daughter, who was told to go play by herself while mother spoke with the manager. "Go play on the playground by yourself, dear. Tickle that vagina bean." Halfway through the interview, the little girl appeared with a rag knotted in the shape of a doll. A doll rag knot thing. Okay. Confused, the mother asked her daughter where she'd gotten the toy. The little girl replied that her new friend, a little girl with long red hair in the corner, had shown her how to make it. Surprised, the manager and mother insisted there were no little girls at the bar, and sent her off to play again. A little while later, the mother called for her daughter and received no reply. After a frantic search, she finally found her sitting on the floor, playing with the rag doll and conversing with the spectral presence. The mother whisked her daughter away, never to return to the bar again. Oh, we've almost covered all 50 states. Now we must venture to West Virginia. The Appalachian woods of West Virginia are stalked by the talipo, a strange, cat-like creature with long claws, sharp teeth, and a thick, hairless pink tail. Legend has it that one winter night, a hermit living deep in the woods with his dogs was about to go to bed hungry when the talipo crawled into his cabin. The man lunged at the revolting creature with a hatchet, managing to lop off its tail before it scurried away. Overcome with hunger, he cooked the fleshy tail into a stew and ate it for dinner. Throughout the night, the creature returned, calling in an inhumane voice, "Talipo, Talipo, where is my Talipo?" The hermit sent his dogs after the creature, and the dogs didn't return. Despite the unsettling voice outside of his door, the man fell into an uneasy sleep just before dawn, only to wake up and find the creature with red eyes staring at him from the edge of his bed just before the talipo ripped him apart. Hunters and hikers say that some nights they can hear a strange refrain to the wind In the wind, they could hear, "Telepo, Telepo, I got my Telepo." That's just ridiculous. Right. A cat creature that can talk. Alright. That was a weird one. Anyways, we're in Wisconsin. Visit Appleton's Riverside Cemetery during a full moon, and you might see one of its historic tombstones ooze blood. Oozing tombstones, huh? Alrighty then. Located on an isolated wood bluff, the grave is the final resting site of Kate Kitty Blood, the daughter of an influential 19th century settler who has been the subject of many a bloody tale. According to one legend, Blood murdered her husband and children with an axe before killing herself. Why does her name have to be Blood? Fucking seriously. Blood. Her name's Blood and it oozes blood, her tombstone. That's weird as fuck. But they say that can't be true because her spouse, George Miller, outlived her by 42 years, as you can see right here on her tombstone. Another account says that Blood's husband murdered her, and yet another speculative account has her pegged as a witch. The real-life Blood died in 1874, reportedly from tuberculosis at age 23, and Appleton's community mourned her loss. Blood's remote grave and evocative maiden name likely played a part in the formation of these spooky tales. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Her name's Blood. Provocative indeed. Today, they play such a large part in Appleton's historic lore that a local grocery store has even sold tombstone-shaped cookies with Blood's name on them. Bloody cookies. Okay, Knowledge Noggins. We are on the final state, which is Wyoming. In Sweetwater County's library system, you don't need to pick up a book to experience a good ghost story. Just stay overnight. The branch at Green River was accidentally built on top of a graveyard. Construction workers believe that the graves had been relocated ages ago, and they were shocked when they dug up caskets. Patrons and employees have come home telling spooky tales ever since. A few years ago, a reporter is said to have stayed at the library overnight and discovered a voice speaking into his tape recorder. Another time, a janitor was vacuuming the bottom floor when he noticed a light bulb glowing on an upper floor. He went up to turn it off, but when he returned downstairs, his vacuum cleaner had gone missing. That is, until he heard the vacuum running by itself upstairs. Oh, my no. Oh man, did the hair on your nutsack stand up at all? Kinda did for me. I mean, I had a couple hairs on the chode stand up, but my nutsack was relatively dormant, if you will. Well, it will now be time for me and my impromptu ghost story that I was gonna say, or tell. Oh boy. It's like when rappers freestyle, they come up with it on the spot. So that's what I'm gonna do with my ghost story. And after I record it, I'm gonna add a little sound effects. Not sound effects, but I'm gonna change my voice a little bit. But it is all completely impromptu and silly. So Knowledge Noggins. Here comes the scariest fuck story goddamn scariest shit you've ever fucking heard. On one cold afternoon in 1903, a boy by the name of Bob Smith was riding his bicycle down a dark, wooded trail to his mother's house. After arriving to his mother's house, he found out that she wasn't there. So he decided, hey, I'm gonna be a nice son and cook my mother up some ramen noodles. The water was boiling, the night was cold, and the crickets were being very loud. And about 10 minutes later, the boy decided to go into the bathroom and shave his nutsack, since his mother wasn't home. He grabbed the wax paper, never had done this before, and proceeded to apply the wax paper to his nutsack, since it was very, very bushy. Just before he was about to rip the sack off with hair, he heard a voice that said,
"Don't rip your nutsack off. Don't do that. You'll rip your nutsack right off."
The boy jumped up and just totally scared at the voice he just heard, with the wax paper still hanging off of his chode. Then he heard another voice.
Do it. Rip your nutsack off.
Very confused on what was going on. The boy was so scared he got goosebumps all over his back and all over his body. He said, "Who's doing that? Mom, are you playing a trick on me? Who's talking?" And then he heard again.
Don't do it. You'll rip your nutsack right off and you'll bleed to death.
And then the other voice said,
Just do it. I want to see you bleed all over the floor.
and then the other voice said,
Don't. Don't do it.
and then the other voice said again,
If you do it, I will give you so much free candy. I will slap your sack.
and the other voice said.
If you do it, you'll die, and your mother won't be able to save you.
That's when the boy noticed the smoke alarm was going off. The ramen noodles boiled over and spilled all over and started a fire. The kitchen started to burn down. He screamed. He ran outside and hopped on his bicycle and pedaled off back down that wooded trail, when again he heard.
I can't believe you were going to let him rip his nutsack off with that wax paper.
But I offered him free candy. And I said I would slap a sock around and, give him some candy and a bag of chips or something.
Free candy and a bag of chips and a sack slapping isn't going to convince any boy to do that.
Yeah, but he said he told me earlier that he would really love to do that, and I talked to him earlier.
You didn't talk to him earlier. Go back to your room. You're grounded.
No, but I offered him a nutsack slapping and some candy.
No boy ever wants a nutsack slapping. Okay? Shut up and get the fuck down to your bedroom.
Yeah, but I...
But nothing. Go down to your fucking room, motherfuck.
That's when the boy realized the two voices he was hearing are now arguing with each other about a nutsack slap. The boy is so confused looking back at his house burning down. Sad that his mother's probably going to be very mad at him for burning the house down, trying to cook ramen noodles, and trying to wax his sack. The boy started crying. He started to pedal his bicycle so fast down that wooden trail that he wasn't paying attention, and he came across an intersection where he got T-boned by a big semi-truck and it splattered his body all over the road. And in the truck was the two voices.
Oh my god, you just ran him over.
I didn't run him over, you ran him over.
How did I run him over?
I don't know, how the fuck did I run him over?
I don't know, but he's dead now, and you burned down his house.
I didn't burn down his house. Fucking bitch.
The boy's remains were found the next morning, and his mother arrived to a burning house. The voices disappeared, but the only thing remaining was a cooked bowl of ramen noodles that the mother had for dinner that night. The end.
Yes, you did. You burned down his house.
How the fuck did I burn down his house? With our voices.
I don't know, but you burned it down. Don't argue with me, fucker.
Don't argue with me, bitch. You're a fucking cunt.
You burned it down.
No, you burned it down.
You burned it down.
No, you burned it down.
You burned it down.
No, you burned it down.
That's fucking scary as shit. Just kidding. I like telling stories. Maybe I'll try and tell a serious one next time. I don't know. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a good remainder of your night. Go rub your chode. Go slide your penis against your wife's titty. Punch her in the asshole with your teeth. Stand on top of the back of your couch and do a swan dive onto her vagina lips. Alright. One more thing you need to do is grip your wife's ass, each hand on each cheek, and shake it like you just got a shirt out of the washing machine. It's great fun. It creates a wind draft. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Much love, and peace out.